B-26 Marauder, stamped as Widowmaker because of its early production instability, was actually a very good bomber and a great asset to the Allied war effort. Although it was challenging to fly and land, when airborne it gathered an impressive service record and actually could take a surprising amount of damage and still fly home. So let's see how this medium bomber got into service. The story of the B-26 starts in 1939, when the US Army Air Corps put out new specifications for a medium bomber. It had to be a twin-engine design with a maximum speed of 350 miles an hour, a range of 3000 miles, and a bomb load of at least 2000 pounds. At that time, the medium bombers of the US Air Corps were all outdated early 1930s designs, like the Belanca 77 or the Martin B-10. Both of these planes were slow and lacking in range compared to the foreign designs coming out in the late 1930s. Though the Martin B-10 was very advanced when it was introduced, the rapid developments in aviation during the second half of 1930s made it obsolete by the time World War II broke out. The Martin company submitted their design to the new specifications on 5th of July 1939. Their Model 179 won the competition and was awarded a contract for 200 aircraft. The first design featured a dual-tail setup similar to the one on the B-24 bombers, but this was changed to a single tail before production began. The new plane was a very modern design for its time. It featured an all-metal construction, shoulder-mounted wings, tricycle landing gear, and a streamlined all-circular fuselage. This fuselage design gave the plane good aerodynamics, but made the crew space pretty cramped. The B-26 featured two bomb bays which together could hold 5,800 pounds of bomb load, though such a high load reduced the operational range by a lot. Most of the time the front bomb bay was used for ordnance, and the second one was used for additional fuel tanks. The first B-26s were delivered to the Air Corps in February 1941, and it quickly became apparent that the new bombers had some problems. The B-26 had relatively small wing area, and this resulted in high landing speeds required, between 120 and 135 miles an hour. This was problematic for various reasons. The aircrews were not used to such high landing speeds, resulting in several crashes when they tried to land at too low speeds and the aircraft stalled. The planes also suffered from hard landings, damaging the landing gear, propellers and fuselage. An additional problem was sometimes the nose landing gear collapsed, even when the plane was just taxiing. Initially the accidents were narrowed down to the factors of the plane's teething problems, its unusual flight characteristics and the inexperienced aircrews. The situation got so bad in 1942, Glenn L. Martin was summoned to a Senate committee hearing about the accidents. On the hearing, then just Senator Harry S. Truman questioned Martin about the B-26 accidents. Martin responded that the plane's wings were too short and the small wing area resulted in the unusual high takeoff and landing speeds. When Truman threatened to cancel the contract and make sure Martin won't get any new ones, they redesigned the planes. This is how Truman related to the exchange later. Glenn Martin was making B-26 bombers and they were crashing and killing kids right and left, so I said to Martin, "What's wrong with these planes?" He said, "The wingspread isn't wide enough." So I said, "Then why aren't you making them wider?" And he said, "I don't have to, the plans are too far along, and besides, I've got a contract." So I said, "Alright, if that's the way you feel, I'll see to it that your contract is cancelled, and you won't get another." He said, "Oh, if that's the way it's going to be, we'll fix it." And he did. By February 1943, the new model, the B-26 B-10, had longer wings by an additional 6 feet and upgraded engines. Beginning with the B-26 B-10 models, the wingspan was increased from 65 to 71 feet, and also flaps were added on the outboard parts of the wings to help with the landings. The vertical stabilizer was also enlarged from 19 feet 10 inches to 21 feet 6 inches. The B-26 Marauder was powered by two Pratt & Whitney R2800 air-cooled radial engines, producing 2000 horsepower each. Its maximum speed was 287 miles an hour, with a cruise speed of 260 miles an hour. It had a combat range of 1,150 miles, and a service ceiling of 21,000 feet. The plane's armament was quite impressive for its size. Though the very first model was only armed with 230 and 250 caliber machine guns, the late models featured 1150 caliber machine guns. 5 of the machine guns were fixed forward firing operated by the pilot. The remaining 6 was divided between the dorsal and rear turret and the 2 waist gunners. Most of the B-26 Marauders saw action in Europe during World War II, but they were also used in the Pacific and in North Africa. They were also used by the British, French and South African forces. They came into service in early 1941, replacing the Douglas B-18 Bolo medium bombers. I've already mentioned the B-18 Bolo in my earlier B-17 video. If you haven't seen that yet, you can find the link in the description or at the end of the video. After the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, B-26 groups were deployed to the Pacific. They were attacking Rabaul on their first mission, flying from Australia. Some of the B-26s were equipped with aerial torpedoes. 4 of these planes were used in a torpedo attack in the Battle of Midway against the Japanese fleet in June 1942. Their torpedoes missed the targets and 2 of the 4 planes were shot down. The other 2 were so badly damaged they were written off. Later in 1942, the Marauders flew bombing missions against Japanese bases on the Solomon Islands. In 1943, it was decided the B-26 will be phased out from the Pacific theater, but some of them still flew missions up until January 1944. The B-26s participated in Operation Torch, the Allied invasion of North Africa, in November 1942. They suffered heavy losses at the beginning, as they were used in low-level attacks against fortified targets. Later they were switched to medium-level attacks, and their losses dropped significantly. They supported the Allied operations all through the advance in North Africa, and later in Sicily and southern France. The Marauders arrived in England early 1943, and started flying missions in May. Sadly, the same errors were made in their mission planning as in North Africa. Flying low-level unescorted missions resulted in very high losses. In an attack on a power station in the Netherlands, the whole bomb group of 11 planes were lost. After this they were switched to medium-altitude bombing runs. Bombing from altitudes between 10 and 15,000 feet and under the cover of escorting fighters, the B-26 proved to be highly successful. Some say it was the most accurate Allied bomber of the war. They supported the Normandy invasion and were used against targets in France, bombing bridges, railways, V-1 launch sites, and so on. Their last combat mission of the war took place in 1st of May 1945. The British received 52 Marauders in 1942. They mainly used them on the Mediterraneans in anti-ship roles. Unlike in the Pacific, here they were quite successful against merchant ships with their torpedoes. Later the British received another 100 planes in 1943 and a further 350 units in 1944. They participated in combat in southern Europe, mainly in Italy and Greece, and some of them supported the partisans in Yugoslavia. At the end of the war, the B-26 Marauders were quickly decommissioned, and most of them scrapped. Many were even scrapped and melted down in Germany, not even shipped back to the US. Despite the excellent combat record and very low loss rate of the aircraft, it could never shake off its early poor reputation. The aircraft that started as a Widowmaker, which was almost cancelled because of the early accidents, in the end became the most accurate US bomber of the war and was a great asset to the Allied efforts. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and in the comments let me know if there's any interesting events or vehicles you'd like to see.